My name is Luana Bussiere, and I'm the Executive Director of St. Aidan's Society. St. Aidan's is a nonprofit organization and charity that provides services and supports to seniors in our community so that they can achieve optimal quality of life. For seniors in Fort McMurray right now, it is probably a good reflection of how the community in general is doing. We have some seniors that are doing fantastic, and those who maybe were struggling before the flood, the pandemic, the fire, are struggling more than ever. For a number of seniors, they struggle to connect with resources that would help them in their day-to-day living. That may include health and well-being resources or just connection to others and the community in general. So we provide services that help them connect to others and help them meet their health and well-being outcomes. One of the biggest struggles for sure is the loss of connection to others. For a lot of seniors, they were maybe a bit isolated before anyways. So being shut in as a result of the pandemic has certainly heightened the struggle to connect with others. When you add challenges with technology and understanding how to connect remotely, for those who have never picked up an iPad, it's a brand new world, and it's just another barrier to remaining connected and engaged.
I'm Leanna Wielden, and I'm the Executive Director for Arts Council Wood Buffalo. I get to talk about and talk to artists and art enthusiasts all the time. We are an organization that's dedicated to supporting the growth and success of the arts. Arts Council, as with most organizations, have had to really rethink and reimagine how to deliver arts programming. Despite that, the team really rose to the challenge, and we've managed to put on 13 unique programs since March, hiring over 46 local artists. We were working on a project with St. Aidan's, which was going to connect isolated seniors with artists to co-create artwork, and intended to be a series of live workshops. We quickly changed that to the Art of Conversation.
So basically the idea of the project is that our conversation today will kind of become my inspiration for an art project.
The Art of Conversation project is my favorite project that we've done so far in terms of partnership with other agencies. Leanna, the Executive Director of Arts Council Wood Buffalo, and I had talked prior to the pandemic about connecting somehow the artists and the seniors and having some project that would use the expertise of the artists and the skills and knowledge and heritage of our seniors. And so we came up with a project that once COVID hit, we weren't able to follow through with. So when the pandemic hit, we quickly got together and decided, how do we reshape this? How do we still achieve what we want to achieve, but add the component of making sure that seniors are connected to others? And the Art of Conversation was born.
Which pairs the artists individually with seniors, and through phone calls, through Facebook Live, or however the senior felt comfortable connecting, the artists would have a series of conversations, perhaps spend some time with the senior, and just share stories and share art forms.
And from that conversation, different pieces of art was created and gifted to seniors.
The elders are given some art supplies if they wish to foray into visual arts as well. And that's been just such a meaningful program. We've partnered with St. Aidan's on a number of things, and always, seniors are so valuable, and I think we miss a lot of opportunities to connect with them and to learn from them, and they have so much to give as far as experience and knowledge and humor. I think especially we see a lot of that people kind of discount, and we really need to make sure that we protect that. We have one young artist that was paired with a senior, created a musical piece on the piano for his senior. He wrote a lovely thank you letter to the senior and to Arts Council for putting this program on, because he had always had kind of a negative outlook about being an artist, just generally as teenagers go through that angsty kind of period. And after working with the senior and speaking with the senior, he really started to change his outlook. It improved his self-esteem. He had a more positive outlook of a worldview in general. So I think that one really touched us. And there's been a number of those types of stories, but particularly that it was a youth that was really impacted in such a strong way by the senior, I think is really important.
My name is Liam Legault. I'm a visual artist, fashion designer, entrepreneur in Fort McMurray, Alberta. I'm from Vancouver. I came to Fort McMurray in 2013. Prior and, while I was a teen and growing up as a young adult in Vancouver, I was kind of immersed in like hip hop. So music, dance, art, graffiti. So I'd say probably graffiti was my first art that I took serious. Obviously, graffiti's or was at least then, like pretty much just illegal art, although it was coming to, become more and more popular. When I came up here, I didn't come here as an artist. I came here to actually work in a restaurant to bartend at the time. And that was a 180 from switching from managing different businesses in Vancouver. And about three years ago, maybe 4 years ago, kind of after the fire, and after a few things really just showed you how frail a 9-to-5 was, or, like I couldn't really bet on it. I was like, I'm gonna make my own kind of career. So I kind of thought about it and I chose art and then just did a 180 and went beeline at it. I was lucky enough to be awarded a 50 under 50 for kind of volunteer things. I've taught thousands of kids in schools. So it just kind of changed the framing of what I was trying to do, where I have a long-term goal, but I'm also trying to impact the community I'm in. The Art of Conversation project, first of all, I love. I think that I was concerned when COVID hit here, what are you really gonna do in a small community where things are already shut down, kind of, there's a flood. So I think that Arts Council did an awesome job of being creative and trying to think of how to incorporate their artists and to involve your most vulnerable kind of sector and your elders at that time, where that was like, how do we get them kind of out of their little bubble where they're like locked in a room, especially if you're in a home, you just have a room primarily, right? So they reached out to me and asked if I was interested. I said, of course, how would you not? I spoke to Brenda, who was the, I guess my elder, or she's a supporter of arts in the community, super bubbly person. And we had a really good conversation for a couple hours. And I think that the story and why I created a lot of my art when we were talking about things like this, I gave her like inside details, like art that wasn't released that has a release date for next year. Like, can I trust you? We had to sign an NDA. Like, so we had a good, like, well-humored conversation. And out of that, I ended up giving her a one-on-one, kind of like large pocket square, and then did a kind of a collage, kind of like the style I do art. So I think that it was rewarding for the community, and it's important to see that your leaders in art, like the Arts Council, are being thoughtful, entrepreneurial, looking out for the community, but also showing us or a sense of like empathy and understanding for what's needed. I think that it's fitting that I got to spread kind of like my art and within the community to someone who hopefully wanted the conversation, needed it, and is happier because of it.
My name is Shauna Darbyshire, and I work at Wood Buffalo Regional Library here in town. I'm also a artist, I guess, like a hobby artist, and yeah, I've been living here for about 20 years. I took a little bit of art in high school and a little bit in kind of university and stuff, but it's something that I started getting into more regularly more recently as I gotten into my 25, 30s. I find it something that's relaxing, and also it's just when you get into the zone, regardless of what you're making, it's just a really good way to be. The art of conversation. So the project was something, I had a couple of friends kind of recommend it to me, like, oh, you should submit, see if you can get in on this. And I was kind of surprised when I was accepted, because I've never really done any public art. Like, my art has mostly just been stuff that I do for myself at home, or I share it with family and friends, but I've never really done art for somebody else in this kind of capacity. So I was really excited and also kind of nervous when my application was accepted. And it was a really cool project. So it pairs you with a senior in the community, and you have a conversation, and then a piece of art will come out of that conversation, whether it's a visual art or a poem or music. So there's a bunch of different kinds of responses, and mine is sort of a mixed media piece. So I was originally, kind of nervous, like any person that you're meeting for the first time, you don't know, are you gonna click? Am I gonna have any inspiration for my art? What if I just draw a total blank and I don't know what the heck to do? But by the time we were finished our conversation, I had almost the exact idea of what I wanted to do in mind. So I was paired with a lovely lady named Libby.
Hi, I'm Libby. It's a community. I don't think there's anywhere else, and anybody I've spoken to, that has the resources that Fort McMurray has. There's so much going on, especially for seniors.
How has the whole COVID thing impacted your life?
I used to enjoy going out and meeting people, going out for lunch, but yeah, don't do that anymore. I've basically become a hermit, and I don't really want to go out and meet people. I just prefer to stay at home.
How is it that you got involved in this Art of Conversation project?
Well, that was through St. Aidan's and the Arts Council, and they asked for anybody who wanted to join in and do something. Well, that was actually quite some time ago, before COVID, I think, or just after it started. And I was interested in doing it, and then Shauna called me.
Hi, Libby.
Hi.
Hi, my name's Shauna. I've been paired up with you for the Art of Conversation.
Oh, yes, that's right.
We had an initial conversation, just a quick one, to kind of figure out what time would work to have our big Art of Conversation that would spark the art piece. And we made a date, and then I called her up, and we had a good long conversation that gave me some ideas of who she was and where she came from and what kind of journey she's been on, and that was how I knew what I wanted to do with this piece of art.
We talked about basically my life, and she was interpreting different things.
What is one of your favorite memories?
Probably the time I was living in Greece. I think that was my happy time. I loved living there. I really felt at home. So there is one memory of where I went somewhere. I'm not actually quite sure where it was, and it was just so quiet, and it was by the beach, and nobody around. And it was just the atmosphere of like just being alone and so quiet.
That was in Greece?
Yeah.
Was it in Greece, like, when I think of Greece, I think of those painted houses on the kind of cliffside sort of thing. Was it that sort of,
Okay. No, if you see pictures like that, that would probably be one of the islands, especially Santorini. That's
Yeah.
the biggest, most pictures are of the white buildings and the blue roofs and
Yeah.
things like that. That's Santorini.
What was the most exciting time of your life?
I was excited when I went to Bangkok. I loved Bangkok. Well, that was an exciting venture.
So you've been to Spain, Greece, Bangkok, lots of places.
Yeah. India.
Mm.
I loved Egypt. It was probably one of my favorite places. I loved Egypt. I went there 3 times.
To Egypt?
Yeah.
What did you like about Egypt the most?
The whole atmosphere and the history of the West Bank and like where the tombs are. Just the way of life, the haggling in the markets and the bartering, I say. Bartering in the markets. I loved doing that, and yeah, I just loved everything about it.
What are the most important lessons or advice that you've gained in your life so far?
I was going out with this guy who he put up with my dog, but he didn't like my dog. And I went to my parents and I said, you know, what am I going to do? And my mum kind of said, well, you know, the guy could be around for a long time, whereas your dog won't. Then my dad said, how could you like someone that doesn't like dogs?
Yeah.
And that was it. So I chucked him.
Yeah.
It just went out my life. I thought, how true is that?
Just because of the whole corona, you know, the COVID thing right now, I might send you a digital copy first, or a picture, or send it in the mail or something, and then later on, hopefully I'll be able to pass it on to you, the actual art project.
Okay.
Hey, Libby.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too in person. So here is the long-awaited piece of art.
Oh my gosh. I've been waiting for this. There's a special place on my wall for it.
That makes
So,
me happy. I got some little books about dogs and stuff for you too.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's so kind. Can I hug you?
I wanted to hug you too, but I was like, I don't know if we should, but we got masks on, we're good.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. She also loves dogs, so she gave me some wonderful books. Oh, I haven't actually gone through them yet, but this is wonderful. I will take time to go through the books. And my card, which I haven't opened yet, and Dogs in the Air. Yeah. Wonderful.
They look great.
Yes. Great. Thank you, Shauna.
It's called Libby Seizes the World, and it was inspired by, the big one was when she was a little girl, she was watching this television program with her family, and they were watching something about the circus, and Libby decided, she knew with conviction in her heart that she wanted to one day be the lady who rides the elephant.
And where I lived then, in London, I wanted to know where the nearest circus was, and they laughed and said Piccadilly Circus. Well, Piccadilly Circus is just a roundabout, a famous roundabout in London.
So that never really happened. She did not ride the elephant.
So that became a joke. But I've never forgotten that. And I think probably my life from that has always been about animals and about travel.
She ended up doing some amazing traveling around the world. And to me, it was like that was her adventure.
I spent a lot of time in Greece. I lived in Greece for a while. I've travelled around quite a bit, and I loved Greece. Greece was probably the best place that I lived.
She went to all these interesting places, and that was sort of how these different patterns and textiles were inspired. So these were lino cut stamps that I made, inspired by the places that Libby has visited, like Greece and India and Egypt. And
this obviously is the Greek part that comes into my life.
She's here riding the elephant, but she's holding the world because she went out there and she saw all of these amazing things, and she had all of these cool experiences.
My life is about dogs, and this is my dog Daisy.
We were also kind of tied together by our love of dogs, so I had to get her dog in there as part of the circus, you know, to tie it all together. So yeah, it was a really fun project.
Yeah, she made a brilliant piece of art. I've always had dogs ever since a baby. We've always had dogs. With Lucy, she came from the SPCA. She was at the SPCA 3 times. She was born there, then somebody adopted her. She got pregnant. They dumped her back at the SPCA. She had her puppies. Somebody else adopted her and said she was uncontrollable and put her back. And then I went in, fell in love with her. And that was it. Took her home.
Dogs are, you know, one of the most important things in my life. Like when I'm telling people about myself, it's usually like I love books, I love dogs, you know, and art. So Libby and I, that was one of the things that we bonded over was dogs. So she was telling you about her dog that she got from the SPCA, and I've also got my baby Tegan from the SPCA here in town. And all I know about her is that they found her, you know, wandering around downtown, and I see this beautiful dog and I'm like, how did she end up on the streets, you know? And she brings so much joy into my life every single day.
Tegan just ate a spider straight up off the floor.
They're friends, they're family, they're therapy. They know exactly what you're thinking and what you're going to do. They're just wonderful. They're not pets. Their family.
Dogs, they just seem to know if you're feeling down, and they'll come and curl themselves around you, you know, and they'll spend the day with you. And they'll also, like Libby was saying, sometimes you don't feel like going for a walk, but your dog is there and they're ready for a walk and they're gonna bring you for a walk. So, you know, she gets me out of the house and she's really my best friend.
What you doing, bud? He's a good boy. He's a good boy.
Some of the things Libby was saying, you know, dogs are their companionship, and they're not just pets, they're family, like they really are. And I would take Tegan with me anywhere, and you know, she's my family for sure.
I think this is probably the only thing that I actually have that tells my story. And that's pretty good.
I hope she, you know, really enjoyed it as a project to kind of reflect on her own life and to, you know, to feel proud of the things that she's accomplished, because I think it's really awesome, and I feel like we both are kindred spirits in a lot of ways with, you know, the love of travel and animals and everything. And I hope that she, you know, enjoyed maybe meeting a new friend during a difficult time when we're all isolated, and it's a community project that brings strangers together, so I think that's really special.
She told her story of her dreams as a child and what she wanted to do and be, and she loves dogs and she loves elephants, and this canvas was created for her that just captured her story and her journey through life. And I can't imagine, like, for her to have that hanging on the wall and to look at it and the validation that comes from being heard, and to take her to a place that was joyous when she looks back.
We all tend to be really hard on ourselves, looking at our own story and thinking like, well, it's just this. But really, when I heard Libby's story, I thought there were so many really amazing things that she's done, and that, you know, she gets excited about, and they were things that excited me as well, like just imagining this young woman out on an adventure, going out. You know, I asked her, one of the questions I asked her was, have you ever done anything spontaneous? And she told me about a time when her friend kind of phoned her up and said, hey, do you want to go to Greece? And she was like, yeah, why not? You know, so they just doing something for yourself and really enjoying travel, I think is really cool. I feel actually really inspired by her life, and just, you know, getting to talk to her a little bit. I hope that we can, you know, remain friends and keep chatting now and then, because I really enjoyed getting to know her through this project.
It was an adventure for her, and I think she enjoyed it.
It helped me to feel like you know, that I can take a step out into the art world, and even if, you know, I'm not the most amazing artist in the world, but I can still, you know, make a connection with someone, and I can still do things in the art community. There's no, you know, bar that you have to reach to be an artist. Like, I can call myself an artist even if it's not, you know, the one thing that I'm always working on. It's a part of me. And it was just really lovely to make a friend during all of this, you know, COVID and everything, to have that connection, even though, you know, we were in our own homes, but we were able to talk and really make that connection. And I think it's important as well for programming and for community efforts to bring people together of all ages and from all different backgrounds, because we all can, you know, learn so much from each other and really relate to each other on a lot of different levels.
Hey, I'm Corey Huber, aka Caius Hubris. I'm a local artist and engineer here in Fort McMurray. Well, I came to Fort McMurray for work, like most people. I got out of university for engineering and got hired immediately at Suncor. I've always been a musician, so in high school I played the tuba, very cool. But I was also involved with things like jazz bands, which is where I learned how to play guitar, bass guitar, drums, things like that. I didn't play much in university, but then when I got to work full-time as an engineer, it started to become more of a need. I didn't really realize what I was lacking until about 2014. I felt like, you know, my left brain, analytical, cold logic side of my brain had been overworked from going through university and being an engineer in general, and the creative outlet in my life didn't exist. So I started looking for sort of an artistic outlet to get rid of, you know, some feelings and focus some ideas.
Lay awake, eyes wide, vibe in the morning. Grave mistake deep inside, bottle pop forming. 6 a.m. finally the alarm sings. Sick I am mentally, pawn takes king. Tear my body out of bed and convince myself that what I did years ago was someone else. Outside in the cold, await for the bus. Climb inside, sit down, alone with my thoughts.
Initial attempts at, you know, getting back to what I was used to, like being in a funk band or a jazz band or a rock band, didn't really work for me because I work Monday to Friday as an engineer, and most of the people available to do band stuff are like 6 on, 6 off, or they're like in Mexico half the time, or, you know, it's very complicated to get something going like that here. So at the same time as I was looking, I started to fall in love with, you know, alt hip-hop artists like Aesop Rock and Bus Driver, and people who really put a lot of thought into the lyrics and the message and the words in their hip-hop songs. And I thought, that's a genre that I can latch onto and do almost exclusively by myself or online with collaboration with one other person. So I gravitated toward that, but then apparently never lost, you know, some of the roots that I was used to in country and rock and roll.
And make more of you at the People Store. So give us all you got and then a little more. Of course, we'll be there for you as long as we can afford to.
So the art of conversation, you really get to talk about whatever you like, but most people ended up talking about sort of life stories and big experiences and big life lessons and things like that. I think it's really good for the artists to get some of that experience from them. And it also is very inspirational in a way that takes you out of yourself for a minute. A lot of my work is quite introspective or maybe analytical of society, and this got to put me into a brand new space, which is, let's put myself in the shoes of this person instead. And I think it was a really, you know, healthy and good thing, a good experience to do that particular exercise.
I can't see you from the light. Oh. That's okay, that's okay. All I need to know is that, all I need to do is hear you.
Rudy is a very interesting person. He has a plaque on the wall that says, "Jack of all trades and master of most." So he really has done it all. He, growing up, established many of the railroads and railroad bridges in Saskatchewan. He helped finish the Trans-Canada Highway.
I was a grain buyer for the Saskatchewan wheat pool, and I spent 10 years in the grain business. I ran 2 elevator shipping points by myself. I ran one from Monday to Thursday, and on Friday I went and ran the other one on Friday. And I did them all by myself for the farmers, and I shipped grain wherever they took it. And I worked there for 10 years. And towards the end, they were going around trying to find people to work in the oil sands. And when I got to the point of wanting something else to do, I decided I was going to leave the grain business and go to British Columbia. So we packed up and with a camper truck and a car. My wife drove the car and the kids and I drove the camper. And we got to Edmonton, and I thought, well, just for the fun of it, I'm going to take a spin up to Fort McMurray and see what's going on up there, and then go on to British Columbia. The road wasn't very good then. It was a mud, dirty road. And we trundled up into Fort McMurray, and we got into town. You have to go across the river, across the bridge, and go north to the gate. I went and asked at the gate what I was there for. He said, "I'll phone down and see what they say." So he left, and he came back and he said, "They told me that you can go down to the main office, and everybody has to stay in the vehicle." And he said, "You can go in." So I motored on down to the main office, and I went in, and the guy at the front there, he asked me my name and what I was doing there, and I said, "My name is Rudy Loy from Saskatchewan." He said, "Do you know Edward Loy?" I said, "Edward Loy is my brother. He works in Edmonton, and he lives in Edmonton, and he works for the city of Edmonton." He said, "I am his next door neighbor." That's all the interview that I got. He went into the back, and he came with a hard hat and a pair of hard-toed boots, and he said, "You take these back to town," he said, "and a key." He gave me a key, and he said, "There's a mobile home, number 6 mobile home in Waterways," which is now Waterways. And he said, "You can stay there." And he said, "Catch the bus tomorrow morning, and we'll give you an induction." I had a job on the top bench bucket wheel as a helper on for Great Canadian Oil Sands, and it was shift work. So there I was. Shift work didn't set with me very well, but I worked on there through the winter, and I decided that I'd try something else. So I went downtown and asked them if they needed a handyman. And they said yes. They said, "Yes, you can come and work for us." So I went to work for the city, and I got rid of the tough shift work. That's where I started working for the city, yeah.
On the side, just happened to be a great father, great grandparent, good husband, and all of the other things, as well as, partake in arts in the community as well by doing woodworking and sharing the results of his expertise with people in the community.
I was always interested in doing woodwork. I was watching the woodworking programs on television, and they showed us how to do rough inlay. So I thought to myself, if I take that idea and change the fittings for the router, I could make different sizes, because they were only showing one size. And I went to the shop and I fiddled around and I got to work. And I've got all kinds of different sizes of things that I can put on my router, and I can make any size I want, and I can make any pattern I want. And nobody has ever done this that I am aware of. Then I started making these boxes after that. Sands Flooring in town here, they give me the end pieces from flooring jobs that they do, and they save them for me, and I can get the natural wood to do my inlays. And I've got my own guides that I make all these patterns. I made my own guides, can't buy them. And you can see that it's multi-level, and it's got a drawer in the front. And when you open it, it's got a mirror, and it's got a tray, and it's got my name in it, and it's lined with a spray-in. It's a special spray-in that you can buy, and it takes 10 hours to set. Well, this pattern here is a pattern that I lock down under the wood under it, and then I put the router on top, and I make this pattern, and then I take the same thing on the lid, and I make the recess that the pattern will fit right into it. This is embedded about 1/8 of an inch. All of these, every one of these, all the way around. If you see all these patterns, even this is one pattern all the way around here. Is one pattern, and it's 1/8 of an inch embedded in the wood, and so is this one here. And when you take a look at it, it looks like one, but it's two. And this finger joint here, nobody does a 45-degree angle. I have a 90-degree angle piece of equipment that you can buy for a finger joint, and I put an angle of fitting attachment to it so that I can do a 45-degree. And I think I'm the only one that can do that. I've never seen anybody do a 45-degree finger joint. And I did that just because that makes the boxes stand out. They do stand out pretty nice. And the people at the glass company give me the mirrors. I don't buy them. They give them the pieces, though, the mirrors that they don't use, leftover, that they have left over. And but I have to buy the screws and the hinges and a few little things, but not very often. So, well, if I go around and show people that have never seen them, most of the time they're very impressed. Actually, I had a couple of sales. The government is not very friendly when I make money with them. They take my pension away. So I couldn't sell them. And I said, well, I'll just give it to people. Never took money for them, so I give them to charities for their fundraisers. And I lost count at 100 a few years ago.
Since then, people have taken their Rudy boxes around the world with them. He's got boxes on all continents now.
I've got boxes in Australia, I've got boxes across the USA, and I've got boxes in the Caribbean, and I've got boxes in Great Britain, and I've got boxes in the Middle East. And I know if people hear me, they may not believe it, but they're there because of the population in Fort McMurray. Everybody in the world is in Fort McMurray. I have a wall of fame at home in my kitchen and a wall from cards and letters of appreciation from all around the world.
Did I get a box? I didn't get a box. Maybe someday I'll get a box. I made a box. Yeah, so one of the things as part of delivering the project, I learned how to do dovetail joinery. in woodworking, so I got a jig not dissimilar to the one that Rudy has. I practiced a bunch of times, and then eventually, got something I was happy with, so I delivered the CD in a nice wooden box. And I actually got a picture of our boxes side by side, and it's sort of like level 1 box making, level 99 box making, but it's a cool juxtaposition. But he definitely inspired me to learn more about his passions. So. When I met Rudy, we had woodworking in common, and that's all I knew. And then through a conversation with him on the phone and later in person, he more and more resembled myself in the future, right? Like, he has a big collection of guitars, he records his own music, he makes these boxes that he donates to charity. So it became less of a question of how do I put myself in this person's shoes, and more, how do I put myself in my own shoes in the future and tell this story in a way that, is his experience through my voice.
Well, I've got 11 guitars. I've got an accordion, I've got a violin, I've got a banjo, and I've got a recording outfit that I can sound like I'm an orchestra. I could play different instruments into it after I play one, and I keep on going with another one. I can dub them all in, and I can dub my songs in. I can double sing into it. It's quite an interesting piece of equipment.
So I typically make progressive hip-hop music, very lyrical focused, very analytical, technical oriented work, vocally.
Haven't had a good conversation in months. Talk to a rover, you get no response. Never mind my modern day renaissance. I'd give it all up just to hear your voice once. Terrible affliction of a passion undecided when a person pushes down past the path that was provided. When he settles with the option that will lead him to the unknown. Will it be worth it when he can't make his way back home?
That did not fit this project at all. So I went and he showed me a lot of the songs that he recorded and the songs that he liked from the 40s and 50s. And a lot of them were country songs, Western songs, and waltzes.
I've never been in a band. My friend in Saskatchewan and he played the fiddle and I played the guitar at some dues.
So I decided right there at his place that, it needs to be music that he would make. So I had to adjust my genre to that. Then after that, it was basically a process of picking out the key points in his life that I feel like really impact the people around him, but he wouldn't necessarily actually voice himself, right? So the big one, obviously, is that he makes these boxes, and he sends them around the world and does really good things for charity and makes everyone who receives them very happy and thankful. The other thing that really stuck out to me is that when we were going around in his living room, he was explaining how he wanted to create custom furniture for him and his wife after he retired. And after he finished making the first piece of furniture, sadly, she died early. So that sort of spoke to me as a life moment that would inspire A, a country song, and B, inspire a person to find another outlet for their love, which is sort of the basis of the whole song. Tragic event happens. How can you deal with that through art? So it's sort of like a meta flip on the whole project. I guess without any further ado, please enjoy Rudy's song.
It was supposed to be filled with furniture I built, and you on a sofa made for two. Instead, here I hang with pretty picture frames, little boxes filling up my living room. So I'm putting my love in little boxes, sending them around the world, it's true. I'm putting my love in little boxes, dreaming about coming home to you. Now each little station, with a bit of patience, still does exactly what it's supposed to do. took my car, I can't get them very far. So when I go, they'll be waiting here for you. And I'm putting my love in little boxes, sending them around the world, it's true. I'm putting my love in little boxes, dreaming about coming home to you. All right. So I'm putting my love in little boxes, sending them around the world, it's true. I'm putting my love in little boxes, dreaming about coming home to you.
That's an incredible song, yes. Yeah, I like that. It was interesting. It was sort of the thoughts I've had. And yeah, it was quite an interesting piece of song, yeah.
You can't escape putting yourself in the song, right? That's just the nature of songwriting and writing in general. It's also a really good vehicle for letting somebody in just a little bit, right? There's some things that you can't just outright say because, maybe your ego or it's too painful or, there's a million reasons. But if you say it in a song, you have just enough plausible deniability that you can tell the truth finally. Yeah.
Instead, here I hang with pretty picture frames, little boxes filling up my living room.
I got a new friend, a mentor. I got wonderful inspiration for a piece of art and some more connections in the community. One of the things that I really liked was when they released the song as part of the project page. There was a ton of comments saying, "Oh, I'm misty-eyed," or "This really hit home with me." There was a lot of people who were commenting like, "I actually know Rudy. He's impacted me in this way," and stuff like that. So it also opens up your eyes to how connected everybody in the community is. And I found out after my first conversation with Rudy that actually my sister, who's a home care nurse, visits him sometimes as part of her job. So it's sort of really small world. Overall, it's been really good to get to know Rudy, and we actually do still stay in touch and chat every once in a while. So.
I would love to see more programs similar to this, if not exactly like this, even with, bringing in youth groups and younger kids and more intergenerational art projects and things like that. I think it's really awesome. And as someone who works at the library, I see how different people of different ages and different interests really can benefit from coming together.
It's also important for introspection, but it gives you that ability to sort of teleport yourself out of your body and into someone else's shoes. And I think the more that we do that, the better cohesion we'll have as a city and a country and a society, right? So it's important that we foster programs like this and conversations like this because I think it really has a big healing effect on the community too.
We've had a lot of matches that have been just so successful and so impactful. I can only speak for the impact on the seniors, but so deeply impactful to them. And so this project is going to be repeated.
So we're really pleased whenever we can work with St. Aidan's and bring that to the forefront. So that's been a great program, and we're going to continue it into 2021 and hopefully forever in whatever iteration it is. So whether we continue the phone calls or we are able to have small gatherings, we're going to keep moving that forward.
thanks to the Arts Council and thanks to St. Aidan Society for coming together and making this project a reality, because I really enjoyed it, and I hope Libby did too, and I think it was a really great project to be a part of.
I guess I just wanted to thank the Art Council of Wood Buffalo for setting everything up. None of this would have happened if it wasn't for them. I'd like to thank Superfluous Motor for helping out with the instrumentation in the song. Greg always does an amazing job, so it's good, and it's sort of cross-country collaboration. He lives in Ontario. And thank you to Zach for doing the video.
I think arts in general have really shown that during this COVID time, we're like, arts aren't important. The only thing that's got you through this time is art.
I've been seeing discussions online where people are saying like, oh, well, we shouldn't waste the budget on artworks, and what's art really gonna do? This is a work town. But I think it's really important, and people don't realize how much art really comes into play. It's not this abstract kind of thing. Art is your everyday. You see it when you're at work and at play.
You're watching Netflix, that's art. You know what I mean? Everything you're doing is basically incorporating art. So I think that connection from a high level is very much real and highlighted, but also on like a person-to-person level, it's more needed than ever.
I think that art is valuable because it gives people a way to express themselves in any way that it works for them. Some people don't necessarily communicate their stresses verbally to a therapist straightforwardly. Some people need to make a picture or paint a painting or sing a song about it to assess their own internal working. For myself, it's very important, and for the same reasons expanded out to the city level, it's important for the city to have that ability to express themselves and then also make connections between people by collaborating. And even just going to shows and seeing, this person's going through this thing, I relate to that.
Art really helps you to have a good day, being surrounded by, beautiful visual art and music, and I think it's really important, and people maybe don't realize how much art is around us, different types of art. And I'm glad that the Arts Council is looking for new creative ways to bring art into town and to find ways to support artists in town, because there need to be more outlets for that.
Art comes from the heart, so that's why it's important.
Arts in particular has a very significant impact on health and well-being. I have grown over the last number of years through working with and getting to know the Arts Council, an absolute appreciation for the value of arts as it relates to mental health and well-being, and that it has a huge place in our community and should be embraced.
The arts are critical. They provide a platform for people to really express themselves and also to really get in touch with themselves. I am a visual artist. I do a lot of drawing and painting, and that's the time when everything else is shut out for me. So I can be lost in that for hours and not realize it's passed by. And we've heard several other artists express the same thing, and youth artists too, that it's a really comfortable, safe place for them to be.
Totally. Like when I'm making art, whether it's drawing or painting or carving something, I just kind of get into, like I said, that kind of flow state. So it feels like everything else just kind of goes out to the periphery, and I can just focus really intensely on something for a while. And before I know it, I'm finished, and then I look at the clock and I'm like, holy crap, I gotta go to bed. So it makes time fly by, and it's like almost a meditative state doing artwork.
For myself, it's sort of like a life or death thing. My work is so exclusively technical that if I don't have a way to express creatively, it becomes sort of a self-destructive cycle.
Having your craft impact somebody on a way that is so significant and so meaningful must also be a gift to them.
This situation for an artist, and I mean doing, say, fashion design, where I have an offer for New York Fashion Week or something, and then they shut that down. And then I'm like, okay, there's an LA Fashion Week, go do that or do this, shut that down. So there's a lot of stress or anxiety that can come with it. So I think when you're doing stuff like that that matters for the community, it kind of puts things full circle. I guess one of my talents as an artist is just trying to make the world a more beautiful place, right? So starting one person at a time is not a bad way to do that.
I believe what the artists have brought to the seniors and the message for the community is that there is a way through arts to help people still feel connected, engaged, and decrease the social isolation that people are experiencing.
And it keeps you healthy physically, it keeps you healthy mentally and emotionally.
We're all trying to find ways to connect to people, and for us at St. Aidan's particularly connect to seniors. And this was an unexpected gift to our seniors and an unexpected example of just the value of conversation. And yes, this was focused on creating a piece of art, but for people to see that this taught us all and showed us all what lots of people have been saying, and that's connection's important. For seniors to be able to tell their story unjudged in a completely safe environment is a gift of health and wellness and mental well-being that is just remarkable. The artists are there to capture what they're hearing, and so they do that and they listen with a purity that doesn't often come during other conversations. And what we've seen is seniors sharing things that we may have known them for 2 years, and we don't know some of these things. They haven't shared these things with us. And it's just a beautiful interaction that allows these people just to be validated and respected on a level that is incredibly difficult to achieve. People say we value seniors, but valuing seniors means that you create a community that welcomes their skills and their experience and their wisdom, that is accessible to them, and that honors their history and their heritage. And that is exactly what this program did.